Okay, the next thing we're going to learn is to totalize information in a simple way without functions or formulas or calculations. Because Tableau lets us assign some totals without any calculation or complex calculation. So the first thing is to see what we are analyzing, which is the customers and the year of order or the years divided by months. Remember, we have months of ordering and the total sales for each of the regions. So we're going to rebuild it. As you can see, we have totals here and we have also totals for each of the customers for each of the years. And we also have the totals, the grand total at the bottom of the table. Okay, so how we do it? First of all, we're going to bring region, customer, years, and months. So I'm going to undo it, and the first thing I'm going to bring is the customers. So customer name, which is from a region, and um, I'm going to open it all. Okay, expand all to see, or I can look here for region. Okay, region, and we're going to analyze. Oh, sorry, region is here, and here we're going to analyze orders by month, right? Okay, and the sales, total sales here as numbers. As you can see, we have already the grand total, but I'm going to tell you where to activate it. So here in analysis menu, we go to totals and we can see that we have show grow grand totals. Okay, I'm going to unactivate it and go again here and unactivate totals for columns. So we have the table as simple as we have learned. Now we are going to add totals. We have two ways to add totals. The first one is going to analysis totals and activating row and column grand totals. Or we can go to analytics here and double click on totals, and we are going to get totals for the rows and totals for the whole table for columns, right? But also we are going to get the totals for each of the divisions, in this case for the customer and the months. Okay, as a matter of fact, we have the total for each part, but I think we had before years, so we can add years. In data, we're going to get the order date, and we are going to add order date here in order to have years. So for each year, we are going to have a total for each year that adds up what we had for all months. In this case, for example, we have for November, well, let's see an example that we have some sales for one September and October, and it adds up. So 381, 3,524 makes 3,905. So the fact is that whenever we activate with double click here in Analytics Totals, it adds the totals for each of the rows, totalizing the items, in this case months, and adds the grand total for rows and the grand total for columns. And I may unactivate them here. But also I can unactivate or remove all subtotals. Look at what is going to happen. I'm going to remove all subtotals. Okay. To add them again, totals, add all subtotals. Right. Okay. Now this is with the total of the sales, but I can also calculate, for example, averages. Averages. And as you can see, these averages, I mean, the table is quite the same. We have the customer, the year, the month, the region up on the columns, and we have formatted all the table. But instead of having the total sales, we have the average of total sales. How can I calculate the average of total sales? So I'm going to click on, well, as always, I bring the total sales here, but instead of using the total sales, I'm going to click here and then to go to measure average, measure, instead of sum, I'm going to use average. If I used sum, it's going to be this way. This is the sum, and I'm going to, as you can see, the changes are not in the one item sold or one selling for a customer, because if it is one, the average is the same than the total. But if I see, for example, let's see this kind of numbers, right? I'm going to measure average, and let's see, now we have a change. Instead of 1,600, we have 818. Okay, so an average is the calculation, different calculation from a sum. Okay, now let's talk about formatting. Formatting is easy. You just click on what you want to format. For example, the year. Clock, remember the clock is the right button of the mouse, and format. And you have here how to manage, for example, dates. You want 4-digit, which is the one, or automatic, and or 2-digit. So this is 14, 16, and so on. I prefer 4-digit, not to confuse myself. And the letter or the font, maybe the color you want. I have in this case purple or kind of red. I'm going to change it to, say, for example, another kind of color, softer, and bold type. Okay, and the same for months, clock, format, and I may use full name, abbreviation, first letter if you want, and so on. I'm going to use full name, and I'm going to use another color. For example, I'm going to use a blue one, or say orange one. There you are. And bold. Okay. Bold. It was bold. Now it is again bold. Right. Now for the numbers, as you can see, numbers are blue. What I did was the same, but with the difference that I'm going to use, let's see, columns, better here, average, format, and here, numbers with currency, 0 decimals. Okay, there you are. Now, let's talk about the lines. So if you click on the table, we're going to find here a little square in which we can format rows, columns, and the whole sheet. Okay, so let's talk about rows. Here we have for cells continuous line in a color which is let's see what color I'm going to use, for example, green, and this height or width, and or I can use for the pan, for the total, I can use on continuous lines, and with a color like, for example, blue, right? And with this width, okay, so there you can see. Of course, I am exaggerating. I am doing something that shouldn't be done because it is not comfortable to see a table like this, but just to exemplify. And the grand total, I may use another color. Okay. Okay. Now, of course, if I do something like that, it is going to be uncomfortable. So we have to be simple. Like, for example, thin lines, not thin lines, better, in order for the viewer to see it comfortably. Okay. Right. Now, let's see for columns the same. So I'm going to use the line, orange one, and for the totals I'm going to use a pointed line or uncontinuous line, red, and so on. So now you have a better table, right, with an average. Now the next thing is highlighting the information, which is a very interesting way of seeing information in order to see highers and lowers, which means what values are higher or the highest and what are lower or the lowest. Let's start. I'm using orders by months, the same information than before, but by region, by segment, and by month. So what I'm using here is the median. The median is another statistical measure, descriptive measure, and the same than before. I just bring, I'm going to take it away. I am going to bring the sales, total sales, right here. And instead of using the sum, I'm going to use here, measure the median. That's it. Okay. Now, of course, it is money, so I can convert it into money, as always. Format. And I'm going to use currency custom without decimals. Okay. Now, the fact is that I want Tableau to show the values in a color depending on a scale from lower to higher or lowest to higher to highest, and I'm going to bring this median total same to color, right? And now we have a scale in colors, and if I want to see the values, I can see the values, but I can see only the colors if you want. And here is the scale. I can change the scale to any other color, double click on it, and I can use colors already by default. Right? I prefer to use colors that are contrasting, for example, this one, from blue, and I can change the blue, very dark blue, for example, this one, to this color, which is kind of a purple. Okay, right? And it may be not so clear for us, but we can always change and say, for example, that this one is going to be a clear blue, and it's going to be clearer for the viewer what colors are the lowest and what colors are the highest. We can also change to another color, for example, say kind of soft purple, and that's it. Now, if you want to see the numbers, you just click on this, which is show mark labels, and there are your numbers. As the contrast is very bad for the viewer, you can format these values, medium format, to be dark, for example. Instead of this color, you may use, for example, black, and there you are. So the highest values are the purple ones, and the lowest values are the kind of lilac um, color. Right. Well, you can play with colors and with the color of letters also, and you can play with these um, dimensions and so on. Okay. Now let's do an exercise with the standard deviation, but with what we call a heat map. A heat map shows you the values in a form that refers to the highest and the lowest by its size, as we can see here. So what we are going to do, the standard deviation is another statistical measure, a descriptive measure, and the bigger, the baddest. It means that, or the worst. It means that the higher the standard deviation, the worse the result. Okay, you're going to understand it whenever you study statistics, or if you have already, you know that the highest standard deviation, the worst for a normal curve. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to take it away, and I'm going to bring again sales, total sales, to our table, but instead of sum, I'm going to use the standard deviation. There you are. Of course, it is money, so we can convert it into money as always. Into money, okay, without decimals, okay. But what we want to see is not the figures itself or themselves, but the size of each of the figures. So you drag the measure to size, and there you are, a heat map. Very easy. Here it shows us kind of a range of values from 49, which is the lowest, to 5,000, to 10,000, to 15, 20, and the highest, which is 26. So that may be this one, 26. And as you can see, we can see that the standard deviation for home office products in the South region in March, right? The whole bunch of Marches, if we can say that, is very high. So it is very bad for the company. So it means that sometimes it sells a lot and sometimes it doesn't sell so much, right? The lowest, the best. For example, this case, the standard deviation is very low. So it means that it is always almost around 700, and I mean sells during those months of July, right? That is a heat map. Now we're going to understand a little bit what we can do with some calculations. So calculations are easy to manage, and we are going to start by the basic calculations. Okay, we knew from the explanation before that we can add some totals automatically, and we can take them away, see some and take some others away. For example, totals for rows and not totals for columns, and so on. Now, what we can see here is that the total sales for these years, for these regions, for these segments, and for these orders per month or for these months are here, the total sale, right? And we are going to calculate what is the commission for sellers for those years. Let's suppose that the commission is 5% for each sale, and that sellers receive the 5% according to the money received by sales. So let's see. A calculation is started by clicking on this little icon here and creating a calculated field. Let's see an example. When I click there, I will see this screen or this pop-up screen, and I may name the calculation. I'm going to name it as an example, right? And here is where I write the calculation, and here are the functions I can use in Tableau. So each click on any function is going to show me how I mean the syntaxes of the function. When I talk about syntaxes is the order of the words and the symbols inside the function, and um, an explanation of what it returns, right? And an example of how to use it, right? So you have to follow the syntax. Let's see something simple, like for example, let's see round, just to see some examples. So I double click on it, and it shows me what I have to include. The number, for example, the let's take total sales. I drag it inside the parentheses, and I have to put a comma and decimals, 0 decimals, right? Let's see. The calculation is valid, it says. If I have something wrong, it is going to tell me the calculation contains errors. So we have to be careful about that. All right. So here, calculation is valid. So I click OK. So now I have a calculation. I am not doing anything but the calculation. Okay, but the calculation. If I try to bring it, I'm going to bring it here just to try. Let's see what happens. It is calculating, and it is going to show me. I'm going to standard to see it. It's going to show me some information. Let me see. Calculate. It is not doing what I want. I'm going to undo it. Oh yes, it is not working because I already have measures here and some arrangement. So I'm going to copy this page, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to take away everything. I mean the measures better. Measures, right? And as you can see, there is no information inside the table. So I'm going to drag my calculation. Remember my calculation, drag here. And what I'm going to get is the information I asked for, which is, oh, I didn't drag it. Okay, let's see. Okay. Example of percentage. Oh, no. Example, this one. Sure. Okay, I had to delete what I had. I'm going to undo to show you. I had measure names here. So I have to delete measure names. Take it away and take it away from here. Okay, now I can drag my function here. There you are. So what I did, I'm going to go to example, and I'm going to click here in the little triangle. I'm going to edit the function, and it shows me you're rounding the total sale without decimals. Okay, so let's suppose that I'm going to change it. So I'm going to change it to 2 decimals. Okay, I'm going to click OK. See what happens. 2 decimals. I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to put it again. Okay, so the fact is that the example, if I bring it, it is going to show me a round or rounded number. But if I want, I may bring also the total sale and look at what is going to happen. I bring the total sale here, and I'm going to have the total sale and the example exactly the same, because the example is taking the information from the measure total sale. But don't worry about that. The fact is that to build, I'm going to undo, build a function. You start by clicking here and creating calculated field, mm, and you have many functions here. I'm going to give you another example. Um, for example, max of a number, right? So I'm going to take sales, total sale, and I'm going to say OK. It was called calculation 6. I'm going to bring it to see what happens. There it is. This is the max sale for each of the months, for each of the segments, for each of the regions. Okay, which is different from the total sale. I'm going to bring total sale here. Now we have total sales 3,000, while the 6,000, while the total sale, the highest sale in 2014 in January was 3,275, but the total sale was 6,000, and this includes everything sold in January for consumer in Central Region, right? February, sorry, 2015, 2016, and for each month. So as you can see here, we have a 2000 as a max um, sale, and 3000 is the total. Okay. Okay. So what we did was to calculate the max and aggregate it to the table. In the table before, what we did was to have the total sales and to calculate the seller's commission. How we did it? Here we have the calc sellers. I call it calc sellers. I'm going to look for that function already built. Calc. Let's see. Calc, calc, calc sellers percentage. I'm going to go to click here in the little triangle, edit the function, and to see total sales or total sale times 0.05, which means 5%. So I'm just multiplying it. Okay. Okay. And then I dragged it here as I did before. And here we have the total sale and the commission. I'm going to change it to black in order to see it properly. Oh, okay. What happens? Well, it's better to plug on each number and format, and then go to pan and click on black. So we have all the numbers in black. So here we have the total sale and the commission for the seller. Let's see an example. So I'm going to take a calculator and say, like for example, calculator. This is 14,814. 14,814.84 and times 0.05, which is the 5%. Let's see, 740 with 74 cents. That's it. So we are calculating from the total sale the commission for the seller. And this is the total commission for that year. Okay. All right, just for January, no? Not for all months. So the total is here. I'm going to put the total also in another color and a little bigger. Let's say format, format, and the total I'm going to, for rows, so I'm going to put it bigger, for example, like 11, well, too much, 10, and that's it. And I may, instead of it with standard, in order to see the figures, right, I may also reduce like a 9, and there we are, a 9 here too. And there we are. You can close this. Remember, we can always close this to have more room, and we can reduce this to have more room, right? So now we have the calculation of total sale and the calculation of the percentage of commission for the sellers, with the total for total sales by month and the total for the sellers by month also, right? For each center, for each region, segment, and month, right? And the total for that column of that year, right? Of that year. I mean, the total for that central region, segment, and others, right? The subtotal. We may call this subtotal. Let's see. I'm going to format this and say that instead of labeling it total, I'm going to call it subtotal, subtotal, right? And I'm going to say that it is kind of green and a little bigger, like 9, right? And that's it. So now we have the subtotal in green, a little bigger, and all subtotals will be that way, okay? That is the first calculation. So I invite you to do this exercise and some others. Try some formulas, okay? For example, sum, average, and so on. Now, I'm going to pass to the next one, which is a calculation with aggregation. A calculation with aggregation is not only using the measure we want to calculate, but summing it, for example, and adding it to another one or dividing it by another one which was summed or added. Let's see an example. Whenever you create an aggregation or aggregated formula, you, let's see, calc total. This is the one or the ones I used. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very easy. Edit. And instead of only using the field total discount divided by total sale, which is going to calculate only the line, I'm going to sum first the total discount and then divide it by the total sale, which is a percentage, which I am calculating in order to analyze how much was the total discount in relation to the total sale. Let's see. So the total discount is this one. This is the total discount. How much is this in relation to the total sale? And it tells me that it is 1 point or 1,33%. So this is the total sale, 73,000 minus 1.33 of discount, which means 72,823, right? So how, first of all, I calculate the discount. I'm going to edit it, sum total discount over or divided by sum total sale times 100 in order to give us the percentage. Okay, right. And of course, I have to calculate the total with discount, right? So the sum of total sale minus sum of total discount. Okay, right. So the total is this one. The total discount is this percentage, and this is the result. Okay. Okay. Again, this is the calculation, aggregated calculation. Aggregated because it is a sum divided by a sum, or a sum multiplied by a sum, or something like that. Mathematically, it may be of many calculations inside the function, because these are simple functions. Later we are going to see more complex functions. Okay. Now, the next one is quick calculation. Quick calculation is very interesting because it helps us to calculate without doing any function by ourselves, but the Tableau is in charge of doing the function or building the function. So, for example, in this case, I am taking the state, the total sale, and asking Tableau how much does that single sale represents in relation to the whole bunch of sales. So this is a percentage that added up goes to 100. So each sale, I mean for states, the calculation of sales for that state represent a percentage that added up goes to or adds up to 100%. So let's see how to build this. First of all, we're going to see that we have the sum of total sale, which is always bringing the sale here, and I'm going to tell that total sale, click here in the little triangle, and quick table calculation, and choose percent of total, right? Percent of total. So whenever I do it, it is going to show me here. Now, let's do it. So what I'm going to do is to duplicate this sheet, click on it, duplicate. And I'm going to delete everything. So I'm going to delete state, the sum of total sale, this total sale as calculation. As you can see, behind or under the measure I am using, as I am telling Tableau to do a quick calculation, Tableau develops by itself a calculation. In this case, 9. Let's see what is calculation 9. I go to edit, and Tableau did it for me. So it says sum total sale over total sum total sale. Okay? Without my intervention, without me doing anything. So I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to do it from scratch. So what we need, as we had said, we need the state. So state. We need the state here. And now we need the sales. Here we have total sale. Here, there are the total sales. And again, I drag total sale. And that one is going to be changed to a quick table calculation, which is the percent of total, right? And look what is going to happen. I drag it to rows, and it shows me as if I wanted to do a graph, because it is a kind of continuous number. Remember, a measure is almost always continuous, but I can convert it into discrete in order for it to show me a number. There we are. So we have here the percentage of total, an exact percentage with a lot of decimals. I can click on it, format it, and say that I want a number custom with, say, 2 decimals is okay. So here we are, 2 decimals. Okay. Now, it is important to say, to explain it in a better way, I deleted it all, so I just drag the total sales here, and I drag it again this side. Okay, I convert this one into a discrete and convert this one into quick table calculation, percent of total, and that's it. It is an easier way to do it instead of converting it, without adding to the table. So I repeat again. First of all, I add the dimension I want to analyze, then I add the total sale, and I add it again this side, convert it into discrete. So we have the same values, but here I am going to calculate the percent of total. That's it. And at the end, we have 100%, right? Okay. I'll be available in WhatsApp, whatever question you have. Please exercise yourself because, as I told you at the start, I am going to make some questions. I don't want you just to do an exercise, but I want to ask some questions for you to answer. For example, how much was this dimension in these years for this region? So I want you to do the exercise or do the drill and then give me the answer. That is what I want, and that is going to be the workshop for this week. Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention.